FDA is jumping on the clean girl makeup trend. Starting this week, the FDA has new regulatory powers over cosmetic products as a part of a 2022 law. For context, the FDA receives over 5,000 reports every year about health problems related to the use of cosmetic products. They believe the new law will help advance public health. The law, called the Modernization of Cosmetics Regulation Act, is aimed at bringing greater transparency and oversight to an industry that's been largely self-regulated. The law requires companies to clearly label allergens, disclose every product they sell, and register their facilities. It also gives the FDA power to recall a product and require companies to report serious adverse events, including hair loss, birth defects, and life-threatening experiences.
And that's not all. The act requires the FDA publish a report summarizing its safety assessment of forever chemicals in cosmetics by December 2025. The agency is also expected to propose rules requiring companies disclose ingredients of their fragrances and to standardize testing for detecting asbestos in products, including makeup. So what do you think about this, Jess? This is a lot of regulation being added in, but I think for good reason. Makeup products have been largely unregulated. We've seen companies have launches where they send out lip products that have mold in them or powders that have gone bad, and there's not a recall. A lot of customers can't even get a refund on their money or a return sometimes because the customer service obviously is not super great at some of these companies. So I kind of take this as a welcome development. When you're putting things on your skin, of course you don't want them to be harmful.
Right, yeah, there have been so many products that people show breaking out in rashes, having allergic reactions to. There's something in them that just shouldn't be put on the skin no matter who you are, allergic to the thing in it or not. It's just a chemical that's unsafe for use. We see Europe having pretty clear regulatory standards. They have a thriving cosmetics industry. Anyone who would say this kind of regulation would hurt the industry is wrong. I think the industry stands to benefit from their products being safe to use. I think a lot of people are starting to pay closer attention to what's in their food and what's in what they put on their skin, what products they use. What's interesting as a part of this law is not only is it going to make the cosmetic industry safer, there's a little bit more transparency for consumers. When you have companies required to say what products they make, it's going to stop this tricky thing that's been happening, where people have identified a lot of the designer, brand names, celebrity makeup lines are producing all of their cosmetics in the same factories as drugstore makeup or much less expensive brands. But because the packaging is different and because it's marketed differently, it's assumed to be a higher quality product when it's not. And so having this list, having companies say what products they produce, I think that's going to, increase the transparency so long as they don't find some kind of workaround for this new law.
Yeah, I tend to agree. And what's interesting with makeup companies is that they do have chemists that develop a lot of their products, or at least work in tandem with the designers and have these chemical labs, but apparently they have not been subject to the same scrutiny as other labs that produce chemical-based products, which is very concerning that they would not have those regulations. And I'm kind of curious as to why it is that it took this long for the FDA to get involved in this process.
Yeah, I think I have that question as well. I mean, you have so many people who are in the revolving door of the FDA and big pharmaceutical companies and big agricultural, conglomerates. And so to see them turn their attention to the cosmetics industry is interesting. I have a lot of questions about how this ended up happening as well. But I think that when you don't have anyone that's, serving in the FDA on the board who's a decision maker, who's formerly been a consultant or an executive at a major cosmetic company, it really opens the door for good policy to be made. And I think I would just like to see the same thing happen for large pharmaceutical companies, for large agricultural companies. It's about time the US starts paying attention more so to what Monsanto has been up to, having these genetically modified seeds that they have patents for, which it's insane that that's illegal. And I have a lot of questions about if that's good for our food industry as a whole. But to have their seeds blow onto other farmers' fields and Monsanto suing small farmers into bankruptcy and then buying up that land is just a horror story, what we've seen in corporate agriculture. And so I'd like to see the FDA, take a regulatory stance that protects consumers, but also protects the industry as a whole. And so I would like to see the FDA be far more active. And we've seen candidates like RFK Jr. make this more of the conversation, and candidates like Jill Stein as well, focusing on, big ag, big pharma issues that a lot of the candidates coming out of the Uniparty don't touch, simply because they have donors coming in from those industries and they're essentially paid not to. And so I think this is a step in the right direction, but we need more from the FDA for sure.
There's also been some new studies coming out about forever chemicals and just how effective they are at penetrating the dermal barrier, meaning they can seep through your skin at levels that were previously unknown. Some scientists and industry officials, according to this article in The Guardian, have claimed that PFAS used in personal care products or makeup won't be absorbed because they're ionized so they can repel water. But the research in this study shows that this theory does not always hold true. So anything that you're putting on your face, of course, can get through your skin barrier and be absorbed into your body. And a lot of these products have these forever chemicals. We have a lot of forever chemicals in our cookware and other products that we use on a daily basis. We covered on this show about the Band-Aids that were tested that showed a presence of quite a lot of forever chemicals. I think it was almost 80 to 90% of popular Band-Aid brands that had tested positive for PFAS. This is a very pervasive issue, and one that I think is fascinating in the context of seeing that more young Americans are being diagnosed with cancers, which is something that no one seems to know quite the cause for, but I think it's worth asking if this can be related to a lot of the toxic chemicals in our everyday products.
Absolutely. I mean, when we see class action lawsuits because baby powder has been proven to be linked with forms of cancer, that's babies that Johnson & Johnson and other major companies were okay with selling these products that have severe consequences. And so we've seen companies be this greedy before. We've seen Purdue Pharma knowingly sell OxyContin, which is incredibly, addictive to the point of being a street drug that people will pay a 2,000% markup plus for. And so people rely on products, and they're starting to realize that, these companies don't have their best interests at heart, and they're developing alternatives. A lot of videos have gone viral on social media of people using these apps where they scan a product and it brings up what potentially harmful chemicals are in that product in real time while you're shopping in the store. And so I think a part of this, new FDA law comes from companies, honestly, maybe supporting it because they know they can influence the FDA more. They would rather you get the information from a centralized place than you find it on your own and you crowdsource this information. Because a lot of the products people know and love that go viral with the makeup gurus all the time are some of the ones that are worse for you. When you look at this app, it's been shocking seeing what chemicals are identified to be in these products. And so this could be the result of people taking matters into their own hands and the FDA saying, well, better us than them. Let's make sure that we're controlling this rather than people organizing themselves and boycotting some major products. So it could be the result of, people organizing en masse to get the information on their own.
We're going to leave it there. We'll be back with more Rising after this.